Hey everybody, good morning. So, today we are continuing our contemplations into the reality of the possibility that the concept of holy matrimony is a non-free will integration of two people who are supposed to be with each other. And there's a desperation for, I see in a lot of depictions of what others have experienced or gone through of their interaction. And one side is depicted as extremely desperate. And I think what it is, though, is not that one side is desperate, but one side recognizes that the choice is not there. There's something going on and it's different. So if we're assessing the truth and the reality that holy matrimony is something that happens between two people where they become locked to one another, and sometimes one side doesn't want to face that, sometimes one side thinks it's all about beliefs, and the other side knowing that it's not about any of those things, it's something that just happened, starts to work on themselves, I believe, to make sure they're good enough in their knowledge levels to be able to communicate the reality of the concept of holy matrimony, which is when somebody's telling another person, I love you, I want to be with you, and I want you to be with me, but we cannot be together if you do not want me. And I can't convince you to want me. There's nothing I can do. That I cannot act a certain way. I cannot look a certain way. For some strange reason, there's nothing I can do to make you want me. It has to be your understanding that I belong to you. And so the belonging part starts with a desire. So that's, I believe, what we're trying to do is figure out when one person has a desire or the concept of holy matrimony. I love you even though you don't love me. They call it unrequited love. But in reality, the interaction is not always of an unacquainted nature. I believe that most people do not believe in or understand the concept of holy matrimony being a process of becoming locked to somebody, and there is no unlocking it. You cannot unlock it yourself. They cannot unlock it. Nobody can unlock it. Nobody can, because you start to realize, wait a minute, there's certain people who, even when they were cheated on, the other person engaged in lustful activities with other people, but for some reason, the other side of the lock did not have the ability to say to themselves, okay, well, that means never again, I'm done with you. Like, no. They started thinking about, well, you know what? How can we get through this? So many people would be like, that's not healthy. You shouldn't stay with people who are doing those things. You're just like, well, let's go ahead and make sure we test ourselves, so we know if we have a disease, because that's what this person has exposed us both to now, because they allowed themselves to become overcome with Oh my God, that's horrible. With lust. And they just delved right on in there because it's, so comfortable. It's so welcoming and warm and nice, and it looks beautiful and it looks amazing. Like anything you could think that would feel good or look good, it kind of would look that way to somebody who doesn't understand what they're actually looking at and what it could do to the person you're locked to. If you actually, cared to not hurt them or whatever like that. And that's why I think, what's so scary, why people don't want to see holy matrimony as something that is out of your control. It is not your choice. We don't want to ever think of like that we would have to do something we don't want to do. Like, how dare you say that I have to be? No, you don't have to be with that person. But your heart is going to always long for them, desire to be around them. And if you're somebody who cannot engage in lustful activities with anybody other than your spouse because of your religion or whatever it is, that means you're not going to be able to be with anybody else. That's it. That's it. Nobody wants to face that some people who end up just not being with somebody ever, it's because they understood the person they were locked to. They couldn't be with them. Something happened. Whatever it was. I've seen that before. I've seen people, and it's weird because there's only two kinds of people in this world. People who have yet to come around or be presented to the other that they're going to be locked to, or people who are locked. And in that category, there are people who are locked and don't know that they're locked, people who are locked and don't want to be locked because they want to stay in a lifestyle that they don't want to face. They should probably separate from because it's hurting them in some way, But that's another thing I've observed is that we can end up locked to somebody who is actually going to try to help us in some way. I've seen that before, where, others would tell them, like, why are you trying to save them? You're a Captain Save-A-Ho, or you can't turn a hoe into a housewife, all kinds of stuff like that. Like, but in reality, it's one person that falls in love with another person and recognizes they got issues. And they're not going to just be able to just, we're come together and we're going to fulfill, we're whole separate. We got to become whole separate and then we got to find each other. Because that would be a concept of thinking you control who it is that you get locked to. And if you understand God locks you, that means you don't know when it's going to happen or with who. And you cannot deny that it happened once it happens. Because you start to realize you think differently. And this person, for some reason, for whatever the reason is, whatever it turns out to be, regardless if you believe it's God or not God, if you believe in God or don't believe in God, the reality remains. A lock is present between two people who are holy matrimony married. And for some reason, they start to resemble each other. For some reason, they match. Even if it's one's completely opposite, there's a balance. A balance exists. Like when we speak about the yoke and that thing that goes around two bulls' necks so that they could pull the scraper thingy of the dirt. And if it's not balanced, then they're not going to be able to go forward together. They're going to start going off to the side and yeah. So the concept is, people have to be balanced, but you got to remember, in the spirit, balance does not look like what you think it looks like. We're talking about physical bulls. That's what we're talking about. Something that we're looking at and calling that balanced. Well, it just doesn't work like that with spirit. You cannot tell what is actually balanced or imbalanced in the spirit because it's not something you look at. All you can know is that the yoke took place, and it's not a case of, do I want to be yoked to you? Do I think you're whole enough to be yoked to me? Do we match up enough to be yoked together? Do we have the same wants and desires? Do we want things that are different or not different? Do we want the same thing? Since we want the same thing, yeah. Let's go ahead and yoke up. I yoke to you, you yoke to me. That is called legal matrimony. When you decide what you think this other person is or who they are, because you have no concept or you don't believe in the concept of God locking two people together. And it has nothing to do with what you want or what you think is the best. Because it's not about your thoughts in this place. We're here in this reality, experiencing things, witnessing things, figuring things out. And when I place my mind onto this thing that I just realized and started understanding, holy matrimony versus legal matrimony, and if they do not go in the right order, they are not going to be real. If you're not holy matrimony before you do legal matrimony is a lie. And you took the Lord's name in vain. You said, I love you, but it's not true. You have to be able to understand what love is before you can understand or truthfully say to somebody or to yourself or to God that you love somebody. That's why people are like so scared and like, the L word. Yeah, it's a scary word because so many people don't actually understand the weight and the implication of what you're actually saying when you say that. Selfless. You might as well just say selfless. I'm selfless for you. I put you before me. If we were in a situation, I would probably try to save your life before mine, yeah. Yes, I would. Because that's what love is. And it's important for us to really gather in the concept and separate it out from the religious side of its existence, because I have seen people locked together who do not believe in God. But I could see the lock. I could see the indications. So a lot of times people just don't believe in the explanations of certain religions that are here. But they practice love because they love each other. They're selfless for each other. So there's so many people who are married but don't end up staying together because either one side or both sides do not start to learn what selflessness is. Once they meet each other, the love, it's introduced. Just like with having children. If you're introduced to your child and your first initial reaction is not that you start to become selfless for them, then no, you do not love your child. Selfless is what love is. Love is selfless. And the selflessness is not going to resemble anything that has to do with how you used to do things. There are changes that happen, and they're undeniable. They are undeniable. Because you recognize that who you used to be or how you used to be, you just don't think like that no more. You don't react like that no more. You don't be a certain way anymore because love has come in between and into the equation. And if it's for a child, if it's for your child, your selflessness goes with to the child. It's terrifying. So I believe the terror is a different kind of terror, but comes into existence when it's your spouse, your godlock. And I believe that some people will be in denial of what they see and feel, of what they recognize as different or whatever. But everybody responds to the things we all go through in different ways. Some people there's groups that all responded the same way, sure. But the response categories is not what matters. So it is an interesting subject to ponder upon and recognize. So many people do not have any actual real concept of the difference between the two and the order that they must be presented in, or else they are not real, and they are in all actuality against God, because it's a claim of something that is not true. And that's how court works. Oh, they measure everything if it's true or not true, right? Well, the same goes for the things that apply to actual God, because the courts in our system are talking about justice and their external, superficial justice type things. We're talking about the kingdom of God, which is love, how love works, what love is. Things of love have nothing to do with the court system. It just doesn't. It's psychopathic on its face and is not in denial of its psychopathy. They do not try to hide the psychopathy. They boast the psychopathy. I mean, you look like a fool if you have feelings in a courthouse. Stop crying, ma'am. Here's some tissue. Okay, that's enough of that. All right, yes, I'm being very patient. So, I mean, they don't care if it's for your children. You could still feel that something, like, you should not be crying right now. You're not allowed. There should be no emotions here in this place. You feel it while you're there. You're not supposed to have emotions. You're not supposed to have feelings. The ones who win better are the ones who do not have the feelings, who can control their feelings. I think that's really what it is more than anything. There's an expectation of emotional control. And if you don't have that, you're weak in that place, in those places. So anyways, I hope you guys have a great day and continue, okay? Continue to ponder upon the subject that I have been pondering upon and observing the process of observing. It's just interesting. I've always been like in love with love, romance. Like, oh, the love stories of Oh, he comes to save her. Oh, she's so excited. They love each other. They belong to each other. They adore each other. But then when you look into reality, you're just like, hold the front door. There's something that people don't talk about in these movies that's going on here. There's a lot of some things that are not being addressed. Let's really look at this. What is going on here? This is not free will. Why do they keep saying you make your choice? Choice, choice, choice. Everything is pushed as choice. I'm like, hold up. Hold the front door. Yes, I recognize being here is technically free will. You could be here, you could die. You could be a murderer of yourself, but it's like, then you have to measure things like, oh, okay, what does that imply? What are the consequences of said thing? Okay, there's consequences that happen in this world, and then there's consequences if you believe in them or you don't. Imagine you don't believe in something and then it turns out to be true. What a conundrum.